Hi, my name is Jan, and I am posing my subject with the Tutor. I looked around my apartment, and there's a lot of cool stuff that I could paint. For example, I have this collection of antique poison bottles, and I wish I could paint this, but it's far too complex for me. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It's got actual hemlock that I picked in a forest in Russia, an antique mortar and pestle, also from Russia, that I smuggled through customs and almost got busted because it's illegal to take antiques out of the country. But that's a whole other story. That was an adventure. That cool poison bottle there is a skeleton wearing a cloak. And I know everything's backwards. Labels are backwards because this camera films backwards and I can't figure out how to flip it. But people think this one has fallen over, but it's actually flat on the bottom. You'd put poison in there and bugs would go through that hole in the lid there and they would die. Way too complex for me, but wouldn't it be cool if I could? Here's a much better photograph of my antique bottle collection. Or there's good old Ganesha, or maybe my collection of nuns. No, I'm not religious whatsoever. Perhaps my Moroccan stuff, my candle holder, or my camel and my Indian screen and my copper pitcher, or my green bottles, but they're all way too difficult. Or I could paint this nifty zydrate extraction needle. Yes, it's the real prop from the movie. And yes, I own it. And yes, I'm incredibly lucky. But it's probably harder to paint than it looks because it's a cylinder, which for me is hard to paint it and make it look right. And also because it's metal, the reflective nature is kind of tricky for me to do. So I'm just going to set it aside and look at it and think, God, I'm so lucky I have this. Isn't it awesome? So I'm not going to include this in my still life. I could have chosen my gargoyle bookends, one male, one female, or all of my vampire books, along with my bottle of True Blood. If you don't have HBO, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Or my antique decanters from England, along with my zydrate needle down at the bottom. So this is what I ended up choosing, a lot simpler than the other things. This bottle belonged to my grandfather. He was a doctor, and I don't know what he kept in it, but I bet it wasn't purple. It's glass, so that's probably harder to paint than I'm thinking because of the reflective nature. And what's interesting about this bottle is that the bottom is square, straight lines, and this top part is square. But the rest of it is almost like somebody twisted the bottle. As you can see, it's all skewed. So I thought that might be interesting to paint. Interesting being difficult. And the lipstick I put because, for me anyway, a cylinder is kind of hard to paint and have it look like a cylinder. The frame is kind of simple, nice straight lines, but because it's got different depths in here, the different planes have different tones, different colors. I have a high-intensity lamp that I can use as a light source. Right now the light looks rather flat because I don't have the lamp on, but I will use it. And this is an area where it won't be disturbed. And in case I do have to move it, or if the cats knock something over or carry something off, which they do frequently, I've marked it so I can disassemble this if I need to and put it back. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. In an earlier lesson, I had joked that I was going to use these flat sponge brushes because they were the only flat brushes I had, other than makeup brushes. I was only half serious. I'm not going to use these, of course. I went out and got some flat brushes. I think these are for children, but I don't care. It came with 2 little brushes. They're not flat, but I can probably still use them. These are all flat, not to mention pretty, like the color of the rainbow. And I have a nice variety of sizes to choose from, and 2 of them are angled, so I can play around with them and see what I can make. And here's a good view of the bottle so you can see how twisted it is. And that's my still life.